Hello everyone. I hope everyone is having a good start to their week. We are tired. One of my children has had it really rough with sickness. Flu, RSV, then allergic reaction to an antibiotic, and so we're exhausted. And then you throw in the time change, and yeah, not a lot of fun. So, plus, of course, when you have chronic illness and can't sleep anyway, let's just have time change. Let's just mess our bodies up even more than they already are messed up. Just not been a lot of fun around here. Let's put it that way. So I wanted to kind of finally do a long-awaited video that I've been promising about my symptoms, and I want to do this video in hopes that maybe I will share something with you guys that will resonate with someone who maybe doesn't have a diagnosis yet, doesn't know what's going on with them, is sick and trying to figure out answers and doesn't quite know where to start or even what questions to ask their doctor. I know I learned a lot in the beginning stages of being diagnosed. I learned a lot about my illnesses through support groups, and it just really made sense to me. It resonated with me. It made sense to me. I was like, wow, for once, that's me. I hear myself in these people's story, and I don't feel so, I don't feel so, like it's all in my head, is what I'm trying to say. I actually feel like what I'm going through is real. It's not made up. It's not all in my head. It's not me over-rationalizing, overthinking. My body is actually doing this stuff. And other people are going through the exact same thing. And it was so comforting and so helpful to hear other people's stories and journeys and to know, okay, I'm not alone. And people also give me tips and tricks. When the days get really hard, this is what you're going to have to do to survive. And that was so helpful to me in the beginning stages. And even now, I still learn so much every day from other people and their journey and their day-to-day life. And so I'm just extremely grateful for everyone who has poured into me and poured into my health journey by sharing their information with me. And so that is my goal for this video this morning. Just forgive me. I'm getting over some crud from one of my kids, and so my voice is a little scratchy and my back hurts. It's got some body aches in it, so I'm moving around a lot. I'm trying to keep the camera still, but I've got some body aches still. So I have alluded before in my other videos, I have laid out exactly what I have. We are, for certain, I have late-stage Lyme disease. I also have been diagnosed with POTS and dysautonomia. We are trying to get a diagnosis of mast cell activation disorder, which we have yet to get. It's very tricky to catch and very tricky to diagnose. So we're working on that. And then also I deal with a lot of anxiety that comes from having chronic illnesses. Some anxiety you can bring upon yourself, and I have some of that. And then you have some of the anxiety where you don't get a vote. It's part of your illness, and it just comes whenever it feels like. It stays for as long as it wants to, and you cannot stop it. There is no stopping it. There is no vote. There is no, oh, look at the pretty flowers outside. You're fine. You're safe. Nothing works. Nothing. Your body just has to freak out. And so that, I think, is the worst part of my illnesses. So I have also Epstein-Barr virus, which is chronic mono. Um, and so, yeah, lots of fun in my body, not necessarily. But so, with Epstein-Barr virus, having chronic infections in your body makes you feel sick all the time. For me, I have a chronic cough, and I cough um, usually about 3 times a day. I'll get into a coughing spell. Um, it's kind of one of those things where it's weird. It's almost like it's part of the mast cell activation as well, because mast cell activation is very, how do you say, like calculated in its processes. So, like, I get hives every day at between 7 and 8. Every night I break out in hives all over my legs. All over my legs, sometimes on my lower back, sometimes on a piece of my wrist, but mostly just my legs. And they itch and they itch and they itch so bad. I also sneeze roughly about 5:30, 6 o'clock every evening. And it's just what I do. I just sneeze and sneeze and sneeze and sneeze. And then it stops. And I've asked doctors about that, and they say that the histamine in my body has built up so much throughout the day that that's just its way of letting it all out. Like, it's reached its boiling point, and now it needs to tip over and spill out. So the hives and the sneezing are all part of the mast cell, which we are trying again to get diagnosed. Also, I have Epstein-Barr virus. With that brings about chronic cough. It also brings about constant nausea, insane constant nausea. So I chronically feel pregnant. If you are a woman, you will understand. There is a high level of nausea, so sometimes my nausea is here, and I just don't want to smell food. I don't want to be around it. I don't even want to try, but I know I have to in order to survive. And then there's the yuck, just nausea, tummy doesn't feel right type nausea where you just feel yuck. And that makes it extremely difficult to eat, makes it extremely difficult to try, and it makes it extremely difficult to force yourself to eat. So I have been starting to keep like logs and journals on how much I'm eating during the day, because I find that with the nausea, I'm just like, I can't. I am so green. I'm so nauseous. Nothing looks good. Nothing smells good. And so I have to be very careful, because I lose weight super easily. But even let's say I have a good month where I'm not nauseous the entire month, and I eat 5-6 meals a day, I still don't put the weight back on. Once it's gone, it's gone. And it's very hard to gain even just 1 pound. So I have to be really cautious and very careful that even though I have nausea, and even though food looks and smells gross, I have to give myself calories. I cannot do protein shakes. They are full of a lot of allergies and a lot of allergens I can't have. And then they have a lot of fillers, chemical fillers, which my body reacts to. So I cannot do protein shakes. I could probably do like an at-home smoothie, but again, I have a lot of food allergies, so making a smoothie that actually tastes good is very hard. So I have to be very cautious and make sure that I am keeping a daily log. What do you have today, young lady? What's in your body? What's not in your body? Okay, I see you've had lots of almond crackers. So we need to now find ourselves some protein. We need to find some chicken, some turkey, something needs to get in there to sustain the crackers, and give your body building blocks, because protein is the building blocks for your body. And so I have to be very cautious about making sure I've got some vegetables in there. I've got some vitamins, from my food, not just almond crackers, but there's actually some vitamins for my food. And so I'm trying to start keeping like a log of what I'm eating. I also require a lot of salt. People with POTS require a ton of salt. You would think like, oh my gosh, she's going to go into a salt coma with the amount of salt that people with dysautonomia put on their food and the amount of sodium that they eat in a day. But that's what we have to have to survive. It just is part of POTS and dysautonomia. You have to have a ton of sodium just to get through your day. So I find myself snacking on really salty chips at bedtime because that's when my blood pressure tends to be the lowest. And so I need to make sure I'm also balancing that. Okay, you had some chips. Now you, for the salt that you have to have in order to survive. Now we need to get some lunch meat, maybe some leftover vegetables, something to go with that. So I have constant chronic nausea. I have a constant chronic cough. I also have dizziness, extreme dizziness all the time. It's like being on, back in the day when you were in elementary school and you would get on the ride at the playground. It's not the Ferris wheel, but you would get on the ride at the playground where everybody sits down, wraps their leg around the bar, holds on, and you get spun. And you don't get a vote with dysautonomia like you did on the playground where you're like, okay, I'm done, I want off, make it stop. No, they don't get a vote. It comes and it lasts anywhere between several hours to several days to a full week sometimes. It just depends on what it feels like doing. Mine likes to come every single night violently, and I just pray. I pray and I pray, and I watch things that calm me. You'll find me using my phone, either listening to scriptures being read to me, or I will find a show like Hoarders. I like to watch Hoarders. And I will try to distract myself, but that does not stop the spinning. And I'm constantly moving positions. Like I'll be sitting up 1 minute and it's like, okay, that's been long enough. That makes me feel really dizzy. So now I'm gonna lay back for a little bit and then I'll be okay for a minute. And then it's like, whoa, okay, I just got a violent spin. Now we're gonna try to lay on our side. Now we're gonna try to lay on. And you'll find me like watching, but I'm also like holding on with one arm to the side of the bed because it makes you feel like you need to hold on, like you're gonna fall. You feel like you're falling. And so it's not a spin you can see. It is spinning that's internally. So nothing in my world is spinning. I don't see spinning. I feel it. It's vertigo. And I can feel the spinning all the time. Usually when I am spinning, I can check my blood pressure and it's anywhere between 80/47, 75/40, something along those lines when I'm spinning. There are several medicines out there that you can try to up your blood pressure, which I have done, and I reacted. It's just, how do you say? I reacted. It was uncomfortable, very uncomfortable. The side effects and the reactions were very uncomfortable, and so we had to stop them. POTS and dysautonomia is not very well known. It is becoming more known as more people are getting it. A lot of people are getting POTS and dysautonomia after having COVID. That is a new side effect of having COVID. We're getting a lot more people in our support groups that have long COVID that now have POTS and dysautonomia. That's not how I got mine. I've had mine for many, many years before COVID. I have had POTS and dysautonomia about 15 years now. So POTS and dysautonomia can come from hitting your head. It can come from a car accident. It can come from trauma, brain trauma, sicknesses like Lyme disease, Epstein-Barr viruses, mold. I have just now been told that I am full of mold. I have extremely high levels of mold in my body. So that's always so fun to find out. Just add it to the list, So let's see. I have constant chronic cough. I have constant chronic nausea. So it's like morning sickness all the time, all the time, all the time. Food is not good to me anymore. It hasn't been for years. It's just what I have to do to survive and get by. I do not have technically an eating disorder, but it's technically causing one in my body because I can't eat enough calories. And the nausea makes me not want to eat. It makes me want to avoid the food. And eating does not make me nauseous. But when you're nauseous, you don't want to eat. So cough, nausea, dizziness, balance. So my balance, some days is okay. Some days it's pretty bad, and I use a cane to walk my house. Some days I am holding on for dear life in my kitchen, just trying to cook some food because my balance is really, really bad. The floor feels like it's moving. That's one thing that I have with POTS and dysautonomia. The floor feels like an escalator or an elevator. So I will be holding on for dear life to cook myself some food, cook my kids some food, get a drink. And it's all I can do to quickly get back to the bed and sit down. Does the spinning stop when I sit down? No, it does not. But I feel safer sitting down, like I'm not going to fall as much if I am sitting down and safe. And if I fall, then I fall back on the bed or I fall to the side on the couch. You know, it's better that than the hard kitchen floor. I have presyncopy, where it feels like I'm going to pass out, and sometimes everything turns black and I get really, really close and then I snap out of it. I have fainted before. I have had fainting episodes before. I have been found between my toilet and my bathtub before, which was quite embarrassing. Luckily, I was still dressed, but it was pretty bad. When I have episodes of being super dizzy or feeling like the floor is moving or everything around me is moving, if I'm in the kitchen and I'm trying to cook or do other things, I have to ask my children to play somewhere else. Because with the floor already feeling like an escalator, like it's moving back and forth, kind of like this kind of sensation, it feels like it's pushing me forward and pulling me back, pushing me forward and pulling me back. So I have to hold on tight because I feel like I'm falling. So I'll have to ask my children to please go and play somewhere else because they're jumping up and down or running around by me makes it worse. And I just can't handle the stimuli at that point. Another thing is I get very overstimulated very easily. So I have to limit my stimulation. So I spend a lot of time in a very calm and quiet area of my home. On good days, I spend some time out in the living room with my family. We watch TV, we watch things like Tiny House and baking shows. We love baking shows as a family and stuff like that. But other days, I cannot even handle the light of day. I am curtains drawn in the dark. Sun is horrible. It's bothering me. The sounds are bothering me. Food is everything is bothering me. And so it's shut her down. That's what I call it, shut her down. And I close the shades and I trip my kids. You know, my mom helps a lot with my kids. So I'll send them, you know, to play with grandma, and I will have them play their toys in the living room, which I can see from where I'm at, but it's easier for me to take care of them from a distance. I love my children. I am doing the best that I know how as a mother, but some days it is hard. And, you know, as mothers, we don't get breaks. We don't. We are on the clock 24/7. So we just have to find workarounds. And so my kids know, and they can kind of sense when it's a workaround day. So overstimulation, chronic cough, chronic nausea, dizziness, vertigo, passing out spells, pre-passing out, which is called presyncope. I have where my heart skips a beat. So my heart will skip a beat and then it'll try to fix itself and get back into rhythm, which what it does is it pounds me in the chest and then I cough. It makes me cough. One real like hard cough, and then it makes the heart like, I don't know what it does, but I do like a hard cough and then it will fix itself. It gets back into rhythm, I guess you would say. So I have that. Hair loss. I have extreme hair loss. It does not look like it right now because I have curly, poofy hair. But if you were to touch my hair, you'd be like, oh, there's hardly anything there. If I were to lift up my hair, I could show you my bald spots. So I do have some alopecia going on. We don't know if those are the viruses or not enough vitamins due to my sensitivity to vitamins and minerals and things of that nature. We're not for sure. Sorry, my back, as I said before, is kind of sore today. So I have that. We talked about the anxiety that I get no vote on. Sometimes, yes, I create my own anxiety. Sometimes there's no vote whatsoever. I could just be sitting here doing nothing, and all of a sudden I'm in full-blown panic as if a murder is about to happen right in front of me. And it's very, it's very, 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 very scary. And the worst feeling in the whole wide world. And I would do pretty much anything to make it stop. Hate it. Absolutely hate it. I could have had the most wonderful day ever, and just out of nowhere that happens. So that's that. So let's see, we've talked about the nausea, the cough, the dizziness, the presyncopy, the passing out, the hair loss, the weight loss. I am so underweight for my age, and we're working on that, but it is hard. But that's something we're working on. Let's see what else. Trying to think. Overstimuli. We talked about being overstimulated, and part of being overstimulated is then, like, say your kids are playing by you and they drop a toy, you will jump out of your skin as if a gun just went off. Like, you completely just, like, jump out of your skin as if someone shot off a gun right by you, and it's just a block fell on the floor. But your nerves are on the outside of your skin so bad that everything makes you jump. And it makes you not want to be in your own skin. It makes you just so creepy crawly, and it makes you want to be still, but at the same time it also makes you want to run for your life. And that's the hardest thing to explain is I need everyone to be still around me. I can't move, so don't sit on the bed and start bouncing up and down or moving your leg or tapping the side of the bed. I need everything to be still, but at the same time, on the inside of my body is wanting to get up and run and run and run. And I can't. I can't run. Not at this point anyway. One day, I might surprise everybody. So again, I have POTS, dysautonomia, Epstein-Barr virus, Epstein-Barr virus, chronic Lyme disease. We are working to get the mast cell activation disorder. I have panic and anxiety. Another thing with POTS and dysautonomia, air hunger. You are always, I just saw myself in the video go, you are always hungry for air. It's like you can never get enough oxygen into your lungs. And if you've ever been pregnant, you pregnant women know what air hunger feels like. It's like someone is sitting on your chest and you're just like, oh, come on. I just want a good, big, deep breath. And it's just something we can't do. Something people with POTS and dysautonomia like me struggle with is wearing a mask. Because we are already air hungry, if we put a mask on, it takes away some of our air, and we can start to become numb around the lips and the nose. We can start to become even more dizzy because we are not getting enough oxygen when we are already oxygen deprived. Now, if you put a pulse ox on us, it does not show that we are oxygen deprived, but we feel it in our bodies, and we feel like we're not getting a good, strong, restorative breath. And so wearing masks for us is extremely difficult. So if you know anyone with POTS and dysautonomia and they're not wearing a mask, please be kind. Please be patient with them. It's not that they're trying to be mean or nasty or get you sick or anything of that nature. They're trying to make sure that they don't faint in front of you, because that's exactly what will happen. Wear a mask long enough, you will faint. That's just part of POTS and dysautonomia. Let's see, I'm trying to think if I missed anything else. I can always do another video, I suppose, if I did. But at the moment, those are some of the day-to-day, daily symptoms that I deal with. Sleeping is extremely hard. You're either in one of those nights where you're so tired you can't keep your eyes open, or it's one of those nights where you're tired and wired. Your nerves are on the outside of your skin. Your kids are making noises through the baby monitor. They're making you jump out of your skin every time they make a noise. You can't get into a good sleep. You're having panic. You're having palpitations. You're feeling yuck in your skin and body, and you just want to go to sleep, but you can't. No matter what you do, it just doesn't work. Sleep deprivation is huge for us, and it also creates, it exacerbates? Yeah, I think that's how you say it. Exacerbates our symptoms big time if we don't get enough sleep. And so that is a double-edged sword, I guess you would say. You desperately need sleep, can't get sleep, so therefore you're exacerbating your symptoms, which then make it so you can't sleep, and it's just like a vicious chronic cycle. So I think another thing with POTS and dysautonomia, so if I have to ride in a car, and I've ridden in a car for a while, once I get out of the car and the car stops, my body doesn't stop moving. I'm still going. The car may have stopped, but I'm still going. So then, like, if I go into the doctor's office, it feels like the floor is moving underneath of me, and I feel very unsteady and unstable. I feel like I'm gonna fall. I'll be standing in line waiting for my turn, and suddenly it will throw my body forward and backward, and I look absolutely ridiculous, like I'm doing some weird something in line, but I don't get a say. My body just does it. It like throws me forward and then brings me back. It's like being in the elevator. When you're in the elevator, it jerks. It goes down and then up like that. It jerks. Well, my body goes forward and then backward. So I hate elevators. Sometimes you get no vote on an elevator, so I just get in, and I crouch down into like a squat position, and I hold on to the bar for dear life. And I look absolutely retarded and absolutely silly doing it, but it's what has to be done to survive the elevator. I don't do escalators unless I absolutely have to. I will do stairs, and I will tell you, I am out of shape, I am out of breath, and walking is very difficult for me, even just walking my house. But I would rather have someone stand behind me or hold my hand and help get me up those flights of stairs than get on an elevator and be moving all day long. So I ask for help. I'm like, can you help me get up the stairs? And that's what I do. So there's that. Yes, getting up the stairs makes me winded and exhausted and tired by the time I get to the top. But I'd rather that than feeling like I'm moving all day on a Ferris wheel and feel like the floor is moving all day long. I just, there's no two ways about it. I'm taking the stairs. Unless it's a really bad day and I don't feel safe enough, like I'm gonna fall or something. Nobody wants me falling down the stairs. Then I will just bite the bullet and take the elevator. Let's see, what else can I think of? I think that's about it for this video. If I think of some more things, I'll create a part 2. We'll do it that way. So this is part 1. Let's do that. Part 1, my symptoms with Lyme disease, Epstein-Barr virus, Pots and dysautonomia, what we feel highly is mast cell activation disorder. I have tachycardia. I also have, I'm now been told that my body is extremely full of mold, very high levels of mold. And so we have to start figuring out a treatment plan for that, and a way to start tackling that, which will then maybe in turn, hopefully, calm some of this stuff that's going on in my body. That would be a huge blessing after many, 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 many years of praying. So, yeah. I think in the next video, what I'll do is I will describe a flare for you. I will work up the courage to describe a flare for you. Those are hard to talk about. They're very, very hard to talk about. But I think they need to be said. And I need to get it out there because I have seen more and more, time and time again, in my support groups, people say, my body is doing X, Y, and Z. What in the world is going on? It's the most terrifying thing I've ever been through. Why is it doing this? And so I think talking about a flare is going to be really, really helpful to a lot of people. A flare to me is called an adrenaline dump. So next week we are going to talk about adrenaline dumps. So if anyone has any questions about my POTS, my dysautonomia, anything that you want to ask, feel free to comment down below, and I will be happy to answer any and all questions you may have. If you want to share your story with me, I'm happy to listen. I'm happy to pray for you. But I think one of the things I forgot to mention with POTS and dysautonomia is people can fluctuate with their blood pressure. It can either be extremely high 1 minute. And so say you're laying down and your blood pressure is like, we'll say 150 over 99. Okay. We'll say it's 150 over 99. And you're laying down and it's high. Okay. Your blood pressure is high. And then you go and you sit up. Okay. And so now you're about 145 over 95. Okay. You stay here for a minute. And you go and you stand up. And stand up for maybe a minute and a half. Suddenly you're 74 over 60. Okay? 74 over 60. 74 over 50. 74 over 45. I'm always 75 over 45. That's pretty normal for me. So that's when a lot of people pass out because they go from high to medium and they stand up and their blood pressure just drops and they faint. I tend to be more stable with my blood pressure. I wouldn't call it normal, but stable. I tend to stay chronically low all the time. Chronically low all the time. That's me. And when I don't ever really get high blood pressure per se, like some people with POTS and dysautonomia do, but I tend to get more normal. And so I will get, say I'm 80 over 47, which is pretty common blood pressure for me. 80 over 47, okay? But today, my body decides that it wants to be, say, 115 over 85. My body will freak out. Because to my body, that has been 80 over 47 day after day after day after day, constant and chronic, low like that, when I become 115, 118, over, 80s or 90s or, whatever it may be, then my body takes that as a high blood pressure. It's like, oh, our blood pressure is too high. And then it freaks out. And it gives me all kinds of nasty signals and nasty feelings in my body, which are the adrenaline dumps. And so we will talk about those in the next video. But that was another thing that I was just thinking of is my blood pressure. My blood pressure tends to run chronically low all the time. A lot of other people will fluctuate, and their heart rate will fluctuate as well. They could have an extremely low blood pressure, an extremely high heart rate. They can have an extremely high blood pressure and a heart rate where it's like, how are you even alive? Body temperature, that's one of the other ones. We don't regulate our body temperature. We don't. We could be as sick as a dog where our kid would be having a fever of 100. Our body temperature is in the 70s. And people look at us like, how can you be in the 70s? You know, how can your body temperature be, they say normal is like 80 something. Well, we could be like 74 for our body temperature. That's perfectly normal for us. And people look at us like, are you crazy? And I've known some that have been even lower than that. Some people's pulses, mine tends to stay around 90, 80 or 90, mostly 70s, I would say. Once in a while, I'll get 100, maybe 109. It's rare. That my pulse changes too much. But I've had people with pulses of 40, and the doctors just look baffled. They're like, how in the world is your pulse 40? But here I am. Numbers don't lie, and I'm still sitting here in your office. So, yeah, it's just crazy. It's crazy to think that someone could be that low, but it happens all the time. So we are kind of wishy-washy, and it kind of is person dependent and case by case dependent. You can't fit us all in a box. And I've said that for years with medical stuff. Doctors always want to fit everybody in a box. Like, okay, well, you have cancer, so we have to do chemo and radiation and this and that, and you're going to be, golden. Well, that doesn't work for everybody. And just because I have POTS and dysautonomia doesn't mean I have the same symptoms as Sarah, who has POTS and dysautonomia. Because I have lots of friends, and our symptoms are very different from each other. We have a ton that are very in common with each other. We have a lot of symptoms where we can say to each other, I feel this way or that way. And it's like, oh my goodness, yes, I know what that feels like. Oh, it's awful. It feels so awful. And yes, I know exactly what you're feeling. And then we have some where it's like, oh, I have never had that. So that is my symptoms in a nutshell. If you like today's video, like, comment, follow, and subscribe. Have a great day.